And good morning, Saturday morning. Couple snowflakes out there for a minute there, driving in, but weather's been pretty good. And welcome to another edition of the Earl Austin Experience. Earl Austin Jr. back in the saddle again. Was gone last week in Chicago with the Billikens. First place Billikens. Number 18 Billikens. Number 18. Big win last night over VCU. 1-2 was a great game, great night, electric at the Schaefer. Congratulations. Go to Dayton on Tuesday. A lot to talk about today. Before we get to our great guest we have today, I want you that the show is brought to you by Fast Track Auto Transport, St. Louis's go-to company for all your vehicle and transport needs. Visit ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004. Also talk my man Ben Newman at Q-Logics. Show's brought to you by Q-Logics by Ben Newman, the nation's top continual peak performance coach, and of course our new sponsor on the house as well, TW Constructors, and my man Todd Weaver. We would like to thank all of those gentlemen for their support as well. Mark Blue from Autotrans, T Autotrans. So we'll first bring in the man, Ryan Swingler, New Jack Swingler.
Yes, sir.
Yes, of course, we got to talk about the Dragons report as we do always. 19 wins, but we're going to have a Dragons report all hour.
Yeah, we got a Dragon report all hour.
We got the whole head dragon in here. 19, 20 wins and everything. So I know state tournament district's right around the corner.
I'm excited, man. The Dragons been hot all year. Just saw them beat CBC like last week. It was hot. It was nice, and it was rocking in the arena.
They're dropping C notes on people.
Yeah, man. It's fun seeing them run up the score. I love seeing Gary jump out the gym, baby, man. I told my cameraman, I was like, man, if you're gonna film this game, just look at number 3 the whole game. He's gonna get like 4 dunks in the first quarter.
I count on it. I love when I walk in the building. What's St. Mary's got? Just watch that guy here. Well, you're gonna be electrified. Prepare to be electrified in a minute. Of course, you talk about St. Mary's. You talk about the head coach, Bryan Turner's in the top programs in the city, doing a great job, and big time we call him. He's a great player, Beaumont. Just done it all. We're gonna talk about his career and everything. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you this morning?
This is like a full circle moment, man. You obviously legend yourself, man. Mr. Austin, man, just a fan of your work from all the way back in the day and even up to right now, man. So hats off to you, and full circle moment. I got one of my former players over here, man, producing, and when we talk about all the great things that come with being a coach. When we get to moments like this where, I get a call back or somebody's doing something phenomenal in their field and in their work, and to be able to just have that relationship constantly keep going. I mean, that's what we do it for. At least that's what I do it for. So hats off to you, Ryan, man, as you continue to grow in this space. And man, thank you guys for having me on. So.
I think you're right. A lot of coaches, obviously people talk about winning state championships, conference, doing all of that. But a lot of coaches also talk about going to graduations, going to weddings, meeting the children of your players, stuff like that. Sometimes guys stay around long enough, they get to coach the sons of players that we've seen over the years and everything. And like you said, that's what it's all about, really.
Oh, man, because, I mean, when you talk about guys making it to the league and making millions, I mean, that's like 1%. When you look back at just like your lifetime, and if you're able to just in a positive way affect the lives of others, like that's truly, in essence, that's what it's about. Like the game of basketball, like I tell people, use it as a tool to get somewhere. And obviously you probably had coaches that told you that, but never really, have it manifest. And now when I say I'm lucky to be at a school, at a situation where have a long tenured, have a long span of seeing guys come, being able to coach their younger brother, or like you said, a family member that comes up, and even guys that I went to school with, or basically saying, hey, if you're going to play basketball, I'm sending you over here to Coach Turner. So those things like that, I look at it as like paying it forward. So never really wanted to get the kudos for a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff. But as I continue to grow in this space, this is what it's all about for me. So.
What I like too is you and your staff that you have. You guys have been together for a while now, and it seems like a brotherhood, not a coaching staff. It's like a brotherhood, isn't it?
Now, and the crazy part is I've coached all their sons. Like, and that's how, like, when we talk about like just being the family, and even I go back to even Swingler, knowing his folks for a long time. So it's like, you know, when people say the basketball community is real small, I mean, it's truly small. But I like having good people around me. You know, obviously I want to kind of bring some young guys up. And when guys tell me, hey, they want to get into coaching, you know, I'm ecstatic, but I'm also like, okay, let me know when you're ready, because a lot of times, you know, it's a lifestyle. It's not just, you can just, you know, because you're holding so many people's dreams, aspirations in your hand. And I take that to heart. You can't play around with that. So when guys want to come back and coach, because I guess we make it look easy, but I'm like, be careful. You may not want these problems, but I want to make sure, you need to make sure your life is in a space to where you can pour back into somebody. So those are the things. So yeah, true brotherhood through and through. And I'm always one phone call away for my kids. So.
It was cool because when I called you to kind of get you on the show and everything, I guess you were on your way to your city to watch your assistant coach's daughter. And
absolutely.
Night. And he's got, obviously, Coach Green's got three magnificently talented daughters playing varsity basketball. So that's kind of cool to see.
And then watching those girls come up in camp, watching kids come up in camp and grow. And then you look back, like, I mean, you know, everybody has stuff and memories in their phones that come back up. And, you know, I happened to see JL and Jason. And I told Coach, I was like, I remember when some of these girls didn't even want to play basketball. They were at camp playing with Barbie dolls and playing with toys. And now they're, you know, some of the top kids in the state. So, it's kind of like a surreal moment, you know.
Yeah. Just about those three. Like you say, JL's been a 4-year starter at U City, and Jay's in her third year. But Jayani, as a freshman, almost 6 feet tall. She might be the best one.
Yeah, and so that was the funny part, because I'm like, Joe, I remember when this girl used to come in with a Barbie doll and did not want to pick up a basketball.
With her little glasses.
And we used to always say, man, it's just a matter of time when she's going to want to play. And when we started getting our little youth teams going, we would just throw her out there with the boys. And, you know, she would roughhouse and go finishing with the left and the right hand. And now to see her play and emerge as a top player, man, Coach Brooks, former teammate, man, has a lot of talent over there. So, you know how, man, this basketball world is super small.
When I see Johnny, I think, what's remember the show Blackish?
Yeah.
It was one of the great comedies. And what's the younger daughter's name? The twin daughter, I forget her name, but she wears glasses. That's what she reminds me. She's like a taller version of her.
It's so
out
crazy.
There hooping.
It's literally so crazy, because I remember being in high school and going to the camps and stuff, and like I remember Lil Joe and stuff, but like the girls weren't really interested. No, then they just like, I'm like going in college, I'm just seeing them play more and more. I'm like, oh wow, they just started falling in love with the game. It's just great to see.
And you talked about the brotherhood. Darren Brody said, who's the coach at U City? And I know you guys, I'm going to talk about this. Just mention Darren. You guys went through some great times at SIU Carbondale. We'll talk about that in the second half. But getting back to the Dragons themselves, what a tremendous season you guys are having. Are you 19-4 or 20?
We are 21.
21?
21. Yeah. 21-4. We have our final game against DeSmet on Tuesday. So when I look back at this team, and it's kind of funny, because we obviously as coaches, we do a lot of comparing to teams, and each group is different. And I found myself this year just kind of comparing this team to the 2017-18 team, which was my first year.
Right.
And the funny part about it was, you know, this team does not have all of that, like tons of talent that group had. I mean, in that group, we had almost like 3 or 4 Division I players, 2 or 3 pros. Like, so I looked at that team, but it was a balanced team. Everybody averaged about 12 points a game, 13 points a game. So early in this year, you know, we kind of was trying to figure out, all right, who are we going to play through? Who's going to be like our first option? What are we going to do? I mean, obviously we hold our head on defense. And so it was kind of like, you know, whoever's the most aggressive, the most scrappy, you know, they're going to get a lot of points off of the defense. So we probably don't need to worry about that right now. But as the year started going, you know, they started just putting the ball in the hoop, playing with each other, passing the ball around. And so I looked at some stats and I'm like, man, everybody's averaging around 11, 12 points. This remind me of my 17-18 group. So, you know, we just started hitting the stride. We played some tough teams early, won some close games. And I think that started getting the guys' confidence together. And so once that happened, we didn't start, looking backwards. We just looked and we piled up, 6 in a row, 7 in a row. Then we have a big game. And then the games that we lost, we kind of, looked at some things and said, oh, we can get better at this. And, obviously we did, but I didn't imagine, averaging 80 points a game and, scoring 100. Like that's hard in a high school game to do. So I don't want to get, so much in love with the points because obviously we have to stop some folks. So, but I mean, it's made for a good brand of basketball.
It shows. Last year, obviously, you had Zyree Collins, one of the best players in the state, and he's showing it again at Austin. He averaged 32 points a game and really had to build around him. So he graduates. Did you see kind of a mentality of your of players, maybe individually, like, hey, we're still going to be good here at St. Mary's? And like I said, I know you guys had a plan, but did the players themselves have a plan? Like, hey, we're going to show that we're still going to be a good team.
Yeah, obviously. So I kind of gauge things as far as like the participation in like in the summertime. Obviously, we've been lucky enough to have a whole lot of the basketball kids come into the program lately. So where it's not where we're pulling guys from different sports or begging people from different places to come out and participate. We looked up, we had open gym, we had camps this summer, and the gym was just filled with kids, 30 kids, 35 kids. And we were like, man, it's a good sign. So we take those trips to Kansas City during like the certified events time in June. And they put us with out of town teams. And so we played teams from like Iowa and Michigan, and we won a couple of those games. And so I'm like, maybe this might not be a bad team, And so we started, you look and see that they're starting to play with each other and playing through each other. And then now we get to the beginning of the season, preseason conditioning, everybody's there. I couldn't run anybody off. And I'm like, usually, we say 2 miles and we doing this, that, and the third. You look up one day, kids there, next day, kids are not there, but I couldn't get rid of them. And so, we just started thinking like, man, we might have a good group. And that happened once before, like when the 18 group all graduated and people didn't think we were going to have nothing. And that's the group that went to state,
exactly.
So I think the mentality of these guys, because we have guys on the team that played with Zyree, that played in some big games in school history. So those guys are still around. So these are like our leaders, because it's like, man, we've played in front of the sellout crowds and we've played out of town teams from other, out of the state and other places, and we've won. So those guys have been real contributing factors on those teams. And now it's evident now because it's not a moment or a game that's too big for them in my eyes.
One thing I always love, what's a constant, even when you got, like you say, the scorers, the bucket getters, but the defense, the pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys bring pressure like no other team, I think, in St. Louis.
And obviously as a coach, you draw from, some of your past experiences, your past coaches, when you're starting to come up with like a philosophy and playing with, Coach Bird Hamilton and Pee Wee and Coach Gray and all these men that, emphasize defense. And as you know, in high school, I was trying to score so much. Then I get to college and I play for coaches like Bruce Weber and Matt Painter that if their job is on the line if you don't play defense. So converting a score of my caliber into a defensive player, it took some humbling. And so I try to apply that to every team that I coach, that no matter what, man, we it's all about stops. And so the sooner that I can kind of get that across to them, is best. And then we added the poise, pride, and the pressure, that at the mantra that, my coach used to always, pour into us. And I just, took that everywhere I went and let these guys know, like, every year we may not be lucky to get a guy 6'7" or 6'8", but all you guys can play some defense. So that's what we try to hold our hat on. And it's been one of those things. If you can't play defense, you really can't be out here helping us.
Ryan, one of the favorite things when I watch coaches' teams, like I say, when they get the pressure on, and then when they get a good trap on, all of a sudden I hear Bryan go, "Got him!"
Yeah,
I hear that. I say, "Okay."
I've been saying it all the time. Like BT's one of the most emotional coaches I've seen, and that's why I love playing for him and love watching him play. I mean, coach, because it's like it really seems like he's on the court with those guys, and it's like a bunch of little pit bull robots that just listen to him. It's insane.
It's about making other teams uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And and I've gotten a lot of slack over the years of playing a lot of people, and even with this team, I mean, the other night I played 10 kids. Almost try to empty the bench, and it's not so much of playing so many kids just to like play them. Like obviously, this is not like CYC. Everybody has to play, but I view that everyone can give something, even if it's just a hard foul, a dive on the floor, even if you're just giving a guy a blow just to come right back in, you can kind of contribute. And that has always been like our thing. And if we play that way, now it opens up the door for more kids to play. Like if I played in a 2-3 zone and went back to half court, the starters will stay fresh. Right. They wouldn't probably come out, and it don't make for like an exciting game in my eyes. And I always looked at it as just like, come on, the more and more pressure, and pressure shows up in so many different ways. Yes. Kid might catch a cramp from being out there too long. Kid might miss a free throw because their legs are gone. And so all those different things, we try to encourage the team. Come on, just keep coming with it. Give me what you got for 2 or 3 minutes, and whatever happens after that just happens. So that's I just love playing that way.
Absolutely. Now talk some of the players. We talked before we came on there. Gary Johnson, junior, 6'4", senior, one of the most electrifying players in the state. I mean, just one of the best dunkers probably I've ever seen. Yeah, because he had 6'4". He is really unbelievable, but a good player though. People don't realize he's more than a dunker, but my goodness.
Yeah, no, Gary is just one of pretty much like our catalyst as far as obviously we see the highlights and the dunks and different things like that, but this kid has throughout the course of the year has gotten better in my eyes to where a lot of different things that I wouldn't allow him to do last year, I'm just kind of like, you've earned that, you've earned to be the voice of this team. And he's constantly trying to grow and get better. He's real raw. I think it wasn't up until maybe sophomore year until where he decided that he really wanted to play basketball full time, because he played football, track guy, like all these different things. Dad was a football track guy, so he didn't really kind of hone in just as much. But playing with someone like Zaire and that group, they made it so easy for him sophomore, junior year to where you just had to play a role. Now it's like, Gary, we need more from you. So now he's giving us the points, the blocks, the rebounds. I mean, the kid had almost like 20 rebounds in a couple games, electrifying blocks, and then, he can throw the ball through his legs and dunk and do all of that type of stuff. So he's gotten better throughout the course of the year. And I look for him to have a big playoffs, because if people haven't seen him play, they don't really know that we got an electrifying player like that, So he's pretty good.
I remember I was in California watching you guys play down at the New Madrid, the River Bend.
They kicked off the year. The first play of the game, first play of the year.
And that's also it's on A Corp. The SEMO guys who do a good job, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this?" Yeah, and then the second play, it's stolen. He dunked it again, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" And I'm like, enjoy.
So that kicked off our season, so he's been doing stuff like that pretty much all year, and it's like I said, it's fun because we're in a space right now with St. Mary's Southside, to where obviously we had like a little cloud hanging over us for a couple years. But now we're busting out of the seams with people wanting to be there, be a part of this. And so like a lot of our games have been like packed, and it hasn't been, and it's crazy because we've had Zaire the last couple years. Right. And, people came and supported, but now it's kind of like word of mouth. Like, hey, you got to get out to see the Dragons play because it's electrifying, man. You got to see this guy, Gary. He can jump over folks and dunk. So we've been getting a lot of folks coming out, and that's just a good space to be in, to see where we came from, to where we were, and to where we're going in the future. So,
and a guy that's kind of exemplifies St. Mary's basketball I enjoy watching is Marvin Neals, a senior.
Rock.
Just a grinder, great defensive player. Just been chopping that rock for his whole career. There. He's really doing a nice job.
So obviously Marvin comes from good stock. The grandson of the legendary Marvin Neals, and I mean, just a smart kid, knows the game of basketball, like pretty much knows everything out there. But like you said, just a rock. I can put Marvin in pretty much any type of position, any play, and he's going to know it. He's going to run it. And again, he's been in so many huge games that, it's nice to have a player like that on your team to kind of just, hold everybody together. So he's been probably probably the rock for us, keeping everything together over the last couple of years too.
Of course, you got the little soccer star, Xavier Clark. But he's another one whose motor is just unbelievable. And, he just plays at 100. I call it full tilt boogie. You play and just does a nice job for you.
We call him V12, because it's just like I tell these guys, I don't need guys with the Prius motor. I need some folks with some, and he's been rapid fire. So I think he just he broke a milestone, I think, last game, maybe with steals. So he's moving up the steals category as far as school steals record.
That's big at your school, isn't it?
Yeah, that's huge. And even with him, he's starting to kind of come out of his offensive share, because I think the game versus CBC had 30 points, maybe 5 steals. So he's coming along, and I always can, have him and Marvin pretty much on team's best player and know that they're going to exemplify pressure. They're going to just work their butt off. And sometimes we have to have people in the back with bananas and Pedialyte because they drain themselves a lot playing so hard. So.
And you mentioned, like you said, you played CBC, you played the SMET. I mean, you play all the top teams in the area. You don't duck competition. I imagine that's big for your program.
And I think a lot of times people don't understand just it's a science behind scheduling, and I had to kind of learn that the hard way, like the first couple of years. Obviously, you want to play everybody, like what we say, we ain't gonna duck no smoke, Right. But if you got a young team, that can be kind of hard, when you got guys that, this game is a lot about confidence. And if you kill a team's or a player's confidence early, you really might not have them later on down the line to when you really, really need them. So we kind of schedule games where, obviously we don't really know every year what class we're going to be in to kind of schedule like size opponents in the class. So we try to start off early playing a lot of 3 and 4 class teams. Middle of the season, we kind of amp it up with the 6A schools to see where we're at. Then when we close it out, we start identifying who we may see in our playoffs. And so I don't want to play every year some of these big teams, and then you look up and we're 5-20. Now everybody's going to be questioning if we want to be here, this, that, and the third. So you got to kind of pick your battles throughout the year, but we get invited to shootouts, and without us being in a conference, it's hard to schedule games. And so we try to, schedule games with good marquee teams, MCC schools, maybe some schools from the Metro Catholic League that make sense, some, high profile PHL schools, but it's a science to the scheduling. So
we're just getting started here with our man, big time, Coach Bryan Turner of St. Mary's Southside. Before we go to our break, I want to let you know that Fast Track Auto Transport has been a trusted leader in vehicle shipping for over 25 years, providing reliable, affordable services across the United States. Fast Track offers fast and safe transportation solutions for individuals, dealerships, fleets, and businesses of all sizes. The Fast Track team prides itself on honest communication, competitive pricing, and real-time tracking, which gives our customers peace of mind from pickup to delivery. Whether you're shipping a single car or managing a large fleet, Fast Track offers a smooth, hassle-free experience every time. Come see why Fast Track Auto Transport has been St. Louis's go-to company for all your vehicle transport needs for over 25 years. The trusted way, the safe way, the Fast Track way. Visit ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004. That's ftautotrans.com, 636-677-9004. Also, our show is brought to you by our friend Ben Newman, the nation's top continual peak performance coach. Ben is not someone who co-signs on anything unless he really believes in it, and absolutely believes in QLogic's system designed to help business owners see the blind spots in their businesses. Most business owners are trapped by their own success. QLogic helps entrepreneurs build the infrastructure, systems, and teams that create genuine freedom. And QLogic has access to a network of businesses and resources, real connections and synergies that can accelerate what you're building. Business owners, take the first step. Go to qlogics.com/Ben and take a free 5 to 10 minute assessment. The team will research your situation potentially and see if QLogic is the right fit to help your business. That's q-logics.com/Ben. Back in a moment with Bryan Turner.
The Lou Information Station. We're from St. Louis, too. So,
Well, in retrospect, I made some really bad choices after high school.
The Lou Information Station. Streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com.
Lunchtime just got a whole lot better at Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. From mouth-watering wraps to loaded quesadillas to bold, flavor-packed sandwiches, Hot Shots has something fresh every single day, along with your favorite wings, burgers, and pizza that you know and love. And don't sleep on those Hot Shots tacos. Plus, if you gotta be in and out quick for lunch, Hot Shots has you covered every day starting at 11 a.m. Find your nearest Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill now at hotshotsnet.com. That's hotshotsnet.com.
Fast Track Auto Transport has been a trusted leader in vehicle shipping for over 25 years, providing reliable, affordable service across the U.S. Fast Track offers fast and safe transportation solutions for individuals, dealerships, fleets, and businesses of all sizes. The Fast Track team prides itself on honest communication, competitive pricing, and real-time tracking, which gives our customers peace of mind from pickup to delivery. Whether you're shipping a single car or managing a large fleet, Fast Track delivers a smooth, hassle-free experience every time. Come see why Fast Track Auto Transport has been St. Louis's go-to company for all your vehicle transport needs for over 25 years. The trusted way, the safe way, the Fast Track way. Visit ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004. That's ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004.
Her next chapter, with Karen Maurer, financial advisor with Trilogy Financial, is the weekly conversation that helps women financially and emotionally prepare for, move through, and thrive in life's transitions. If you're facing a turning point, whether it be reinvention, loss, or something in between, this is your place to move forward. Her next chapter, live on the Lou Information Station, Sunday mornings at 9, and on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Follow along and step into what matters most, your next chapter.
Let's talk about your health insurance. There are a lot of reasons why people need affordable health insurance. But here's the bottom line. You know you need affordable health insurance. For you, a spouse, a family member, whatever. I'm going to give you a free hotline to call to find affordable health insurance that can cover all your health insurance needs in case you get sick or have an emergency. Plus, cover vision, dental, and more. And there are no long-term commitments. You can keep your plan as long as it's affordable. And for the price of a cup of coffee. We're not talking about one of those fancy coffees. For the price of a regular cup of coffee a day, you can have quality, affordable health insurance. Call the health insurance hotline for a free quote.
800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. That's 800-373-8414.
I'm Big Toe Media President Dave Green, and for the last few months, I've been telling you about what makes Home Bank different. Local people, local decisions, and real relationships. So let me take that a step further. When you walk into Home Bank, you're not walking into a system, you're walking into a conversation. This is a bank that understands St. Louis because they're part of it. The people making decisions live here, work here, and invest back into the same communities you do. That matters, especially when you need answers, flexibility, and a partner you can trust. Big banks can make promises. Home Bank builds relationships. If you're ready for a smarter, more personal banking experience, I'd encourage you to start that conversation today with Home Bank, the team behind our team. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank, they're your business partner.
St. Louis, meet your new daily companion, the Lou Information Station app. Listen live anywhere, anytime with one click. Dive into live or on-demand content. It's the fastest way to stay connected to the conversations that matter in the Lou. Just search Lou Information Station in the App Store or Google Play and download it free today. The Lou Information Station app. Crystal clear St. Louis talk 24/7.
Welcome back to the Earl Austin Experience on the Lou Information Station. You can listen live. We're on demand. You can listen. We got on YouTube. Let's do a podcast. What is it? Apple, Spotify?
Apple, Spotify, and Amazon.
Yeah, so a lot of things you can listen to. Before we go back to our special guest, I want to also let you know that TW Constructor is a new sponsor to the Earl Austin Experience. In sports, everything starts with the team, and at TW Constructors, that's how they see their work too. Whether you're joining their crew or partnering on a project, the message is the same. Welcome to the team. From the job site to the office, teamwork is the foundation of every project. TW Constructors was built right here in St. Louis, and today that team-first mindset travels with them on projects nationwide. Because when everyone plays their role, you just don't build structures, you build something that lasts. To learn more, visit twc-stl.com, twcstl-.com. Thank you, Todd Weaver, for your support. Talking it over with Bryan Turner, head coach at St. Mary's Southside, having a great season, 21-4, heading into another week of regular season, then state playoff competition. Before we start talking about your career, let's talk about you've coached two of the best guards in the St. Louis, in the state of Missouri. And they happen to be brothers, and it's just tremendous players. First, Yuri Collins, who we had the pleasure of seeing every night at St. Louis University for 4 seasons. Just an amazing player, and one of the best top 5 passers I've ever seen in college basketball. I mean, I'm talking with Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd. As far as just pure passing, Yuri Collins was right there with those gentlemen. It was just unbelievable to watch. You got to coach him for his career.
Yuri was a special guy. Yuri used to just do things in practice that used to awe us. And true floor general. People love to play with him, and so he was one of those guys that could basically just like transform a game, pretty much command a game based on tempo, and it was all at his pace. When he was ready to speed up, the game would speed up. When he was ready to slow down, the game would slow down. And it just made for tough matchups with guys, and just having a true point guard that didn't have to score. Like, everybody loved to play with guys like that. If you just ran and you did your job, he was gonna make it easy for you. So Yuri, I mean, you saw those attributes at a young age, even coming from, Compton Drew, us kind of going looking at him in the 8th grade and was just like, man, can this be the kid that can kind of level us up? And the very next year, I think we went from maybe like 8 wins to 18 wins. So every year we got so much better. And so I honestly think if he didn't get injured, so he had a shoulder injury midway through his junior year, at the beginning of his junior year, if he didn't get injured, I know twice, end of his junior year, and he had to get surgery, we probably would have been at least had a state championship or 2 with him. And so very special player, loved his career, especially being here at St. Louis U. And then Zaire just was kind of like, not the total opposite, but just kind of like Yuri 2.0, because this kid was like a legit bucket. Like, at any point in time can get a 3, a layup. It wasn't a shot on the court that he could not hit or get to. But the only thing about, even with that, was a very unselfish player himself, and people love to play with him too. So I tell people a lot of times, Zaire can do the exact same things Yuri can do, and now in college, he's displaying, and I think set a school record for 14 assists in a game. They have 20 wins, and now it's pretty much, it's up to him to see if they're going to get to the NCAA tournament and move forward. So he's having a great freshman year. So
absolutely, I remember my Zaire moment was at the senior at the Webster tournament. You were playing Lee Summit North.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
It was amazing, and you guys were down 9 and struggling, and all of a sudden he comes down, hits a 3. And then he comes down, hits another 3. Then he hits one from about 30 feet. I said he unsettled the building.
Yeah,
he did that. People just went nuts.
It was so crazy.
3 in a row.
We watched the highlights back of that, and it was like literally people throwing babies in the air, catching them, and they just like, oh my God, he hit another one and another one. But just a smooth operator. Like, it's just, never took a bad shot in my eyes. It was just kind of like he played at his own pace, his own tempo, and he knew that everybody's going to be looking at him, so he can make a drop-off pass here and there. So just a real special player. And like I said, to be able to can give you 25, but also can give you 10, I mean, that's a special player.
And to see Yuri also after a great career at SLU, getting his look at the professional league. He's in the G League, but he's had a couple of 10 days in the association. So he's just really chopping that wood and grinding it.
Yeah, I mean, the game of basketball is a young man's game, so you got to try to, at that age for as long as you can, try to make as much money as you can, travel the world, see things, experience things. But I think Yuri has the mindset of he knows he's going to be able to play for a certain amount of time, but he's also thinking about that next step in that plan B. And those are the conversations that I have with him as far as making sure that he's taking care of his body, he's taking care of the mental part, because that's not talked about a lot in youth sports or high school or college sports, the mental health part. And being a superstar in like a bubble for a couple of years, being a professional, at some point you have to kind of assimilate to the real world, and you got to have tools and people in place to kind of talk you through it. Because if not, man, we see so many guys that don't know how to make that transition to the real world, and they find themselves getting in so much trouble after they're through playing. So he has his head on straight. He has people in his ear, and that whole family is pretty solid.
Beaumont High School has had tremendous tradition from the 40s into the early 2000s. Great players: Craig Upchurch, Charles Bledsoe, Billy Morris, Donnell Reed. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on and on. Just incredible talent. They've won state championships. But Ryan, you know the all-time leading scorer at Beaumont High School is?
Bryan Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember before I went to high school, because I wanted to go to St. Mary's my freshman year, but my mom was like, you got into SLU, you're gonna go to SLU, right? But my dad was like, man, you're gonna go to VT. And I was like, bet. But like, he used to tell me all the time, man, he could put that ball in the bucket. So.
I still remember this is a story. You remember, was it Reggie who was helping Bird out? I think his name was Reggie. And you were helping out too a little bit, and with the coach, and then he said some of the kids were giving you some talk back and everything. And then Reggie was telling me this story, and he said, yeah, Earl, and I told the kids, I pulled them aside and said, you know who that is? That's Bryan Turner. That's big time. He's the all-time leading scorer in Beaumont history, 2,000 points. Shut the F up.
Yeah, no. Shout out to Reg, man. Shit, Reg was a great inspiration to us growing up. And you needed people like that around in your camp, as far as people putting the battery in your back. And just those years at Beaumont was just it was a crazy time. Obviously the 90s, man. And I tell even my kids that how hard it is now, because obviously these kids nowadays go through so much stuff with phones and social media and stuff. So being at Beaumont in the 90s, it was kind of like, you pretty much had to pick a side. Either you were going to be an athlete, or you're going to be a gangbanger. You're going to, participate in everything that the neighborhood was doing. And so at an early age, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to put all my energy into this. And a lot of dysfunction as far as, how I played the game. I was playing on playgrounds, and I used to have like the local hustlers in the neighborhood used to come pick me up to have me play against people across town for money or for a pair of shoes. None of this stuff I would advise today, but that's kind of how I got my chops, or I would quote unquote say my respect. So the time I got to Beaumont, it was like,
ooh, that's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just one of the things, like, you didn't really know that you were kind of in it until you kind of was experiencing these things. And so I tell the story of, playing AAU, playing for Coach Pee Wee, and playing with the Eagles from being 11 years old up until 14, 15. I had maybe 4 or 5 years of playing like elite basketball before I got to high school. So once I got there, everybody else, to some degree, the AAU scene is not how it is now.
Right.
You had to be a special player playing AAU all year. So when I got there, Coach Hamilton was his first year. He was just like, no. You playing varsity. You playing. So in my mind, Earl, I didn't separate the difference between lower levels and it because I've been playing with grown men for 3 and 4 years. So finally get my opportunity in freshman year. It was kind of like a blur because Coach Hamilton's first year, he's making the transition to trying to turn this school around as far as on the sports side. And we won 15, 16 games and upset some like huge schools that everybody was kind of paying attention to. And then, me as a freshman had a couple big games and, the rest was history. And then I just always remember every year I had to come back with something different. So young folks out there, young players out there, make sure you set goals for yourself. And I tell my players this all the time. Whatever your goal is, your freshman year, you gotta up the ante your sophomore year. If I look at film, I should not be able to see a difference in this year or that year, or I want to be able to see a difference. So every year I came back with something different. And Beaumont was a real special time. And it wasn't until my senior year to when people started, the echoes of, man, you've done this and you've done this. And then I do the history. I'm like, man, I've done all of this with these guys. And, and like you said, Beaumont was one of the first schools winning 3 in a row back in the 40s and 50s. And that was a history I had no clue about. But shout out to Mr. Bob Cole, Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Travis Brown for keeping me abreast of all of these great things that I was a part of. So.
Well, Bird came up to me. This is before the summer before your freshman year, and he was telling me he saw you coming. He wanted to let me know. Bird Hamilton. He got that voice. Earl, I got one coming. Bryan Turner. Remember the name, Earl. He's gonna be one of the best guards in the city. I'm telling you, Earl. Okay, Bird. Okay. But he was right. I mean, this was before you even.
Wow, that's nice.
Yes.
See, and that's stuff that I didn't even know. And just like I said, just one of those things too. And I want to inspire the young folks to just, like I said, man, make goals, set goals for yourself, and never stop dreaming, because everything that I did in high school, and it's the funny part about it, it was one of those things I pretty much accomplished. Like, you write those things down. I was like, I want to be a Nike All-American. I saw Hoop Dreams, wanted to go to the All-American camp, wanted to play in the KMOX shootout, wanted to be, one of these names that everybody talked about. And little by little, I started chopping off those blocks of, man, I got this. And I'll never forget getting a call about the KMOX shootout, because that was like one of my big goals. I remember seeing Teddy Dupay and Ronnie Fields and Kevin Garnett playing downtown. I was like, I want to be there. And finally we get the call, and coach was like, hey, we're going to play in the shootout. And I'm like, are you serious? And we go, and I think I ended up getting some type of award for having a great game.
I should have bought it, but I got pictures from you. I think our Wiley Price out. When I see you again, I'll bring it to you
nice,
from that
man.
shootout, man.
So like I said, that's just a testimony to setting goals and dreaming and never stop dreaming. I tell people now, man, if you don't have dreams, or you're not trying to have dreams, get away from those folks that don't continue to dream, because you got to have some motion out here, I like to say. So,
of course, you played in Minnow area. You played for Tim.
Yeah,
Gray.
Tim Gray.
Tim Gray, a heck of a coach. I saw he came to a Billiken game about a month ago as well. Did a nice job. Then, of course, you went to Southern Illinois Carbondale, and you were part of some of the most successful teams in the SIU history, and they've had a great history as well. But you were part of a Sweet 16 team, a starter, and it was unbelievable. You could part of the St. Louis Salukis, as Chris Lowry is.
So I wasn't on the Sweet 16 teams.
You were before them, right?
Yeah, I was before, but that era of like all of those guys, it was. We had a run.
Yeah, we had Stetson, Darren, Randall, all those St. Louis area kids.
Then you start to mix in some Kent Williams,
the rifleman, and then Jamal from Jefferson City, Tatum. It was an unbelievable team.
We ended up getting a guy, Mike Dale from Belleville.
Oh, from Belleville, y'all got all the dudes, man.
We started getting guys just left and right of just talented kids, and every year it was kind of like, we were in a position, I think, and you can't do it now, but with the red shirt, a lot of the guys would come in, you knew you had skills. And they would just, pose that question to you. Hey, it'd be best for this program if you redshirt so we can kind of keep this going.
Yes.
So you get someone like Darren Brooks, who eventually ended up being, MVC Player of the Year,
who did not want a red
shirt.
shirt. I remember when they called me, Matt Painter, and Mr. G went down there. It was Ronald Golden, one of the coaches of the Eagles, who part of his territory was Carbondale. And he told Darren, this is the best thing for you. Best thing for you. Remember, he was talking about leaving. I don't want a red shirt.
Absolutely.
I said, Mr. G, you get down. He went down there.
Yeah. And that was one of those things where it was just kind of like, you do a revisionist history on it, and it really propelled our program into what we are today just by being able to have guys come in red shirt. And now, like I said, you see guys reclassing now, or you see guys leaving for a bigger bag at another school. So it's hard to have that conversation about red shirting to any player, whether if you're a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Like, why would I do that? So I think it was best for our program. And then it also worked out for Brooks. And then other guys after that who, hey, if we got a guy that's the player of the year and he redshirted, why wouldn't you do it? Right. And so those were some of the things that we talked about. But I didn't have the luxury of doing that. And that's why I'm always big on telling guys, man, handle your books, handle everything you need to take care of to be able to have that opportunity to play at that Division I level. Because I had to go the junior college route. Now, nothing's wrong with that if you didn't take school serious or you couldn't pass the test. But in JUCO, that's just as cutthroat as playing at some of these other schools, because the mentality of a junior college player is, I'm really here for myself, and I'm here for just a short time until I can land my next spot. So getting guys really truly bought in is a hard part of a coach, and hats off to a Tim Gray and a Chad Mills and a Corey Tate, who are all down there during that time to assist and help with, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that really don't know what they're going to do with themselves or how to get to that next level. So
now JUCOs have to be even more important today because, like we talked about off the air, it's hard for a high school kid to get a look. If they have Division I aspirations, even Division II, because Division II kids are trying to go drop downs, portal, or whatever. So sometimes your best avenue may have to go to a junior college to kind of get better, prove yourself, and then make that leap. So
now more than ever, I mean, I think that notion of JUCO, it was always like a dirty word, like, oh my, I'm not going there. And then until you really get educated on the whole process of, now you can go. I've even had guys in my program, and Yahuza Rasas come to mind, who went to Mineral Area for 1 year, and this kid was a qualifier out of high school, and he went to show people, hey, I can play in college. And he went down there, became a academic All-American and a player All-American, and he was able to get a scholarship the very next year to a Texas Southern, who then goes on to the NCAA tournament. So, things like that, or like the success stories. But yeah, JUCO more than ever, I think, is a route, because you have to stay in front of people. The moment you take a year off or do what these gap years, and that next class is coming right up. So you have to stay in the mix, is what I say. So the moment that you fall out of the mix, it's hard for you because it's so congested of getting in. So JUCO has always been a good route. And like I said, now more than ever, people are using JUCO as like the quote unquote prep school now to get to level up.
Well, Bryan Turner, I really appreciate you coming in. I'm just so proud of you for all the success you had as a player, as a coach, and as a mentor to young men. And one of those young men you helped mentor was my nephew, Robin Thompson, who played for you with the St. Louis Eagles. You would Pee-wee at 15U, and he learned a lot. And that was a lot of fun with you guys at that 15U year. So I just wanted to congratulate you for all the success and continued success as you move into the district playoffs coming up. Thanks for joining me. And then he has a great podcast too as well, just informative, entertaining, and continued success with that. So I just appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, no, appreciate you. Like I said, it's just someone I always looked up to. A lot of people don't know that I have a journalism degree, so I always try to poke and try to get some information from you, off the record and even on the record too. But again, someone I always looked up to as a role model. So, man, hats off to you. And like I said last time, I want to give you your flowers all the time when I see you. So man, you just, man, got a brain, just an encyclopedia brain that just is very impressive. So, man, thanks for inviting me up here for this.
Always a pleasure. That's Bryan Turner, head coach of St. Mary's Southside, 21-4, a Class 4 contender. Stay tuned. We'll be back for the easy second hour. I'll be joined by my man, Ron Zetcher, on the other side.
Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill has a new menu. Don't freak out. Hot Shots favorites are still there, like their famous wings, tacos, burgers, and pizzas. Plus, sure to be new faves like Big Philly egg rolls, the Bold and Hearty Slugger sandwich, the Buffalo Chicken Pizza, and 2 new wing sauces, Carolina Gold and Bourbon Glaze. And making a comeback, it's the return of Hot Shots' legendary waffle fries. So now there's even more to love at Hot Shots. Come try out the new menu at Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. Find the location nearest you at hotshotsnet.com.
Hey, listen to me. I'm one of the credit cards in your wallet. I'm about to explode and pop like a balloon. You're using me and my brothers way too much. Your credit cards aren't the only ones annoyed. It's your paycheck that doesn't have enough to pay everything. Save your credit cards, your paycheck, and yourself a lot of PAIN. Pain. Call the debt helpline now, not tomorrow, right now. Our experts will show you how you can cut your interest rates and your payments on your credit cards in half. Credit card companies have special assistance programs designed to help you. Make this 100% free call right now and learn how you could get out of credit card debt. Here's the number.
800-406-6569. 800-406-6569. 800-406-6569. That's 800-406-6569. Paid for by Zero Debt.
St. Louis sports fans, now you can go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie Miklasz, Randy Carricker, Mike Claiborne, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Also, monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and you'll be supporting local sports media. Join now at stlsportscentral.com.
Broadcasting live from the J. Randolph Jr. Studios, this is the Lou Information Station, KLIS 590 AM, Wood River, St. Louis.
USA Radio News, I'm Jim Rinaldi. President Trump says he signed a new 10% tariff in spite of the Supreme Court ruling. In a post on Truth Social Friday, Trump said the tariff is effective almost immediately. Earlier, Trump told reporters at the White House that some of the existing tariffs will still stand after the ruling, and the ones that don't will be replaced by the new tariff. He says a section of the 1974 Trade Act allows him to impose a new tariff. The president said he still won't go through Congress to impose new tariffs. Trump added the new tariffs could potentially be higher for the countries that have, in his words, treated us badly. Film director Steven Spielberg has left California for New York, joining the billionaire exodus ahead of voters considering a new wealth tax. Jim Roop has more.
Spielberg, however, says the move was for family reasons, not taxes, as first reported by the LA Times. The proposed Billionaire Tax Act would charge a one-time 5% tax on fortunes over $1 billion if approved. Reporters say the tax would fund health care. Critics warn it could push billionaires away and push future taxes on others in the state. Google co-founder Sergey Brin's Build a Better California has raised $35 million to oppose the tax. Governor Newsom also opposes it. Senator Bernie Sanders supports the tax, calling the billionaire class oligarchs. I'm Jim Roop.
Police say the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie remains active as the search in southern Arizona nears the end of its third week. The Pima County Sheriff's Department said that hundreds of law enforcement personnel are actively reviewing thousands of tips. The mother of Today's Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie has been missing since February 1st. Some of the victims killed in a California avalanche has been identified as 6 mothers. In all, 8 people died and 1 person remains missing. Families of the victims say 8 of the guests on the trip were friends and experienced backcountry skiers. From America's News Network, USA Radio News.
Business owners, are you paying high phone bills for old school systems and lousy service? StrongTel cuts your phone bills in half and turns every phone you own into a feature-rich business system. Sean Roddy, CEO of Hennings Brothers Drilling, had this to say. We've been a StrongTel customer for over 10 years. It's great. It even includes an intercom with video to our equipment yard. I can watch live from anywhere with my smartphone. I'd recommend StrongTel to anyone. Never miss a customer call again with your StrongTel business system. StrongTel is a proud iTex partner and always welcomes your iTex dollars. You'll get award-winning StrongTel service, a business-class phone system, and cut your phone bill in half. Visit strongtel.com. That's StrongTel, StrongTel.com. It's StrongTel.
President Trump says the Board of Peace will be one of the most important things he's involved in while in office. Blake Sifton reports a Gaza reconstruction plan was discussed at the board's first meeting in Washington, and several countries have pledged troops to help stabilize the region.
Mediators say they have agreed on a framework for disarmament that will be presented to Hamas. But Hamas said today that any agreement must start with the total halt of attacks by Israel, which have killed hundreds in Gaza since the ceasefire began.
Representatives from at least 20 countries attended the meeting of the board, which Trump says will focus on such things as rebuilding Gaza and ending wars. The president also expressed confidence that countries that haven't joined the board will soon accept. France, Germany, United Kingdom, Spain have all declined invitations so far.
Countries considering sending soldiers have been worried they could come into direct conflict with Hamas if tasked with disarming the group. But it was announced that a yet-to-be-formed Palestinian police force will be responsible for disarming them.
Meanwhile, the U.S. ambassador to Israel is claiming that Israel has a biblical right to take over most of the Middle East. Mike Huckabee spoke to conservative podcaster Tucker Carlson in an interview posted Friday and was asked about a Bible verse in which God promises a large portion of the Middle East to the descendants of Abraham. Huckabee responded that it would be fine if Israel took it all. Chuck Brady, USA Radio News.
iLocal.net is offering a free website analysis to improve the online presence of your business. Business owners across the U.S. turn to iLocal.net to improve their search engine rankings. Search engines are constantly changing their algorithms. You need the professionals who know how to use those changes to benefit your business. Don't hope for new customers. Get found and be chosen. Visit iLocal.net/go for your free website analysis. iLocal.net/go.
Lunchtime just got a whole lot better at Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. From mouth-watering wraps to loaded quesadillas to bold, flavor-packed sandwiches, Hot Shots has something fresh every single day, along with your favorite wings, burgers, and pizza that you know and love. And don't sleep on those Hot Shots tacos. Plus, if you gotta be in and out quick for lunch, Hot Shots has you covered every day starting at 11 a.m. Find your nearest Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill now at hotshotsnet.com. That's hotshotsnet.com.
Her next chapter with Karen Maurer, financial advisor with Trilogy Financial, is the weekly conversation that helps women financially and emotionally prepare for, move through, and thrive in life's transitions. If you're facing a turning point, whether it be reinvention, loss, or something in between, this is your place to move forward. Her next chapter, live on the Lou Information Station, Sunday mornings at 9, and on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Follow along and step into what matters most, your next chapter.
Back to the Earl Austin Experience, hour 2. That means it's the easy second hour, joined by my man, the Hall of Famer, Ron Zetcher in the house. How are you, Zetch?
I'm very well, thank you. I know you're happy. Last night was a big-time victory for the Billikens.
It really was. I was very sad Tuesday night, but my mood is much better after last night. Big showdown of first and second place.
Briefly, before we get started with our two guests here, at the end of the game last night, I want to just make a comment about it. I thought with 1.1 of a second in St. Louis University, they're just doing what you're supposed to do. You know, they're up by 17, 18 points, and they're kind of dribbling it out. And for the player for VCU to try to steal the ball and whatever, are you really? I mean, come on, I've never seen that happen. And then what really bothered me about it, a VCU kid just literally shoved a St. Louis U kid in the back, and that was not penalized. I thought the officials went out there and did a good job of getting it under control. Coach Sherritt's really did a great job. He came flying across the floor. And years ago, and I'll let you go, years ago, I had a game at Drake, and Drake at Indiana State had a big time fight. I mean, big. And in those days, the rule was the coach could not come off the bench. And Gary Garner came off the bench. A Drake kid had an Indiana State kid on the floor. I mean, literally was on top of him. If he'd have hit the kid, heaven knows what would have happened. And Garner came out there, pulled the kid off, and I was supposed to eject him. That was the rule, and I figured there's no way. And I really caught hell the next day from my boss. But the next year, the NCAA changed that rule. Coaches can come out to help. They can't come out to agitate, but they can come out to help.
And that's one thing. The coaching staff, Coach Martelli's staff at VCU and Coach Schertz and his staff, they were out there with the quickness and just really did a great job separating kids with the officials. And it really didn't elevate because of their quick actions. So it was hot. It's heated. It's rivals. It's for first place, and they really jumped it because it started. Josh and Coach Martelli were shaking hands because about 5-6 seconds left, and all of a sudden they look, and then they were out there. So kudos to both coaching staff.
It's a great job. They sure did. Well, today we have Bob McCauley, who is the son of a former Billiken Earl. I think you might know who that Billiken is. And then we have Larry Albas here, who at 24 years old, he was the athletic director at St. Louis University, Earl. So we've got two great guys on today.
Wow, absolutely.
And they're Billiken guys, okay?
It's a great time to be a Billiken.
You got it.
So Larry, we start talking a little bit. How did that evolve? At 24 years old, you became the athletic director at a major university. That would never happen today.
No.
Not that I can imagine.
I don't think so. Mike, I had worked in the athletic department as an undergraduate, and then I graduated and went to graduate school and kept doing stuff around the office. And I was the sports information director and some things like that. And then John Bennington, who was the coach and AD at the time, left for Michigan State. And so they're looking for somebody to become the athletic director. And I had been there. I knew all the people. At that time, they had the athletic council, which was the people who hired people and did all the principals for the athletic department. I knew them all, and I laugh afterwards. I say, well, the reason I got the job was I was there, and since we're working for the Jesuits, they don't pay anything, and I didn't need a lot of money, so that's how I got the job. But no, it was fun. I just a unique set of circumstances, and it led to a whole bunch of opportunities for across the board things that we did at St. Louis U, and then later at the conference, and later at Anheuser-Busch and all that stuff. So
well. Before we go further, I see something here. First of all, I want to have a shout out to a guy that worked with you later on, and I don't want to forget him. Is Jerry Lovelace, was a guy that I just thought the world of, and I certainly want to make sure that his name is mentioned. He was an integral part, particularly in the Metro Conference, Larry, once you started that, and we'll talk about that shortly. Bob, what do you think? You worked with Mr. Albas, and
sure, yeah.
You can talk a little bit about him.
It all started as a junior in high school. My dad had put me in a warehouse environment as a sophomore, and I realized that this is in high school, by the way, and I realized I better go to college. So as a junior in high school, I went to work for Larry at the university in an area where he was selling something called a Billiken Booster. And for $10, you could get your name in the program and 2 tickets to a Billiken basketball game. And needless to say, Bob McCauley could sell those like hotcakes, so much so that Larry said, bring in a bunch of your buddies and we're going to do a big boiler room as a senior in high school. And we sold thousands of these things at $10 a piece. And it turned out to be, Larry looked at that and said, hey, I like what you're doing. Went to St. Louis University and immediately started working with him at the athletic department, doing a multitude of tasks. I mean, all kinds of promotional stuff, ticket stuff. But and then ultimately I left St. Louis University, worked for him as his director of marketing in the Metro Conference, and then followed him to Anheuser-Busch, where he opened and started the sports marketing group. So Larry's been my mentor for many, many, many years, and I have to thank him for really everything that I've achieved in the sports world.
What do you think, Earl?
That's impressive. Taking over at 24 years old, was it overwhelming, or were you doing a lot of those tasks anyway, so it was a easier transition?
I was doing a lot of the tasks, but I'd also got involved with the people at the NCAA, and that's how I got to know them and the whole process. One of the things that struck me when at St. Louis U is to treat. At the time I got there, St. Louis U basketball was not at its best. So my thought was maybe the way we could elevate college basketball would be to try to get the NCAA Final Four in St. Louis. So I got to know several of the people at the NCAA. I said, "What's the process? How do you do this?" Well, they said, "Well, we have a committee. You'd have to come to the committee meeting and make a presentation as to why it should be in St. Louis." So I put together a group of people. Ironically, Ed McCauley was one of the ones who went with me. Some people from the arena, and we made a pitch to the NCAA tournament committee that we should host it in St. Louis. And ironically, at that time, one of the things we had to convince them that we could sell out the place, because at that time, the NCAA Final Four was a big deal, but it wasn't anything like what it is now. So we got the tournament, and it's just funny how networking and meeting people. Well, one of the people on the committee was a guy named J.D. Morgan, and J.D. Morgan was the athletic director at UCLA, and we got to be good friends. And then he wound up rotating off of the committee because you can only be on the committee for 6 years. Well, since I knew him and I knew the people on the committee, I started on the NCAA basketball tournament committee in 76. So you get 6 years. So it was 76 to 82. And it's just the network of people that you met JD, which led, then we got awarded the Final Four, and it was a huge success. And the funny part about that is, I said we had to convince people that this was a big deal. And I was going around meeting people in St. Louis. Frank Torrey was the president of Rawlings Sporting Goods at the time, and he and I were pals. So I went down and said, "Hey, we've got the Final Four coming here. You ought to get some tickets." He said, "Oh, all right." So he bought some tickets, and then he said they'd like evaporated. So it really that 76 tournament, because we wound up selling out, had a demand for tickets, and the tournament created the success. But from that point on, and then we had it back in 78. So it was just a fun time.
Two of the most iconic performances are at Bill Walton's 21 for 22, 44 points. And
right.
Then in 73, I guess, 74, and then Jack Givens' 41 points against Duke were in St. Louis. So you kind of made that happen.
and we never will forget a good friend of ours collectively is Bill McDermott. And we talk about it to this day. But Providence was one of the Final Four teams. And Ernie DiGregorio was their hot shot guard, and Marvin Barnes was their big man. The game opened up, and it couldn't have been more than 30 seconds into the game. DiGregorio throws a behind the back pass to Marvin Barnes, breaking for the basket, and he dunks it. I said, "Wow, that's a way to start this thing."
Fantastic. And Larry, you before we came in the studio, you mentioned that the one shot that Walton missed
was a free throw.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
21 out of 22 from the field that night. I happened to be at that game. I really was there too. I wasn't one of the 50,000 people who said they were there. I really was there, and it was unbelievable to see.
And the interesting thing about that game and the relationships you build with people, J.D. Morgan was the athletic director. And that you may recall that North Carolina State was ineligible to play in the Final Four because of some issues. But everybody figured that they would be the number one team or number two team, and they should have been playing UCLA in the championship game. So I got together with JD afterwards and said, "Why don't we make that game happen at the beginning of next year?" And we got ABC or somebody televised it. So we organized that game. And I said, well, if we're going to do that, if we're going to have North Carolina State play UCLA, St. Louis U has to play somebody. We got to be involved in this in a doubleheader in some way. So that we put together the doubleheader. And again, it was a huge success, and everybody loved the UCLA song girls and everything. It was amazing.
I remember in '76, I don't know, did you guys have when Indiana opened the season with UCLA in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Their undefeated season. Did you put that game put together too? I remember watching that.
Yeah,
game.
yeah. It was, and we got to know Bobby Knight really well, and it was just a fun experience. And as I say, that if the thing you take away from all that, from anybody, is you can build programs around the relationships you have with the people that are involved in it, and if you got trust with them, they'll do things.
Well, Larry Albus, and I'm just going to mention a couple of things here. You can see that he's a pretty good organizer, wouldn't you say? You think? Tell me about this here. My goodness, an American Iron Award from Fort Leonard Wood.
Ah, yes.
Wow. Tell us about it. That's an unbelievable award.
I had the, I guess, dubious experience or whatever it was. I started, as you say, when I was 24 at St. Louis U, and it was 1965. And of course, we had this thing going on in the Vietnam War. And I had a draft exemption because I was teaching math. My master's degree is in mathematics. So I was teaching. They said, well, you'll get a teacher's exemption because it's a critical area of importance. Well, they changed. So I got drafted, and I was in the Army from 76 to 6. No. To 69, and went to Fort Leonard. And what was funny about when I was the AD, we used to play, our freshman team used to play the Fort Leonard Wood team on a regular basis. So when I found out I was going to the Army, I called the guys down at Fort Leonard Wood, said, hey, I got drafted. I'm going to be done. Can I help you with your program? They said, oh, absolutely. We'll make arrangements that when you're done with basic, you'll come over here, you'll work in the sports department. I said, sounds great to me. We go through basic training. You're 8 weeks. Everybody gets their assignments and they leave. I don't get an assignment. I'm in the barracks by myself. Everybody's gone for like 3 or 4 days. So I called the guy and said, what's going on? Everybody's gone. What? He said, well, you're not coming here. You're going to be going to the Pentagon. I said, what? So that's what I did. I spent 2 years in DC working in the Pentagon. And because of my mathematics background, I worked in computer force analysis, which was a fancy way of saying how to organize. Fun isn't the right word, but you're putting together data that helps organize what troops are going to be needed where. And I never will forget, because a lot of the college kids at that time were getting into the reserves as a way so they wouldn't have to go into the Army. So when I was in the when I was there, they had the what was the Pueblo? There was a Korean U.S. conflict where some kind of ship got taken or some such thing. So man, everybody is bringing. You got to figure out how many troops are we going to mobilize? What reserve units are we going to call? And I said, I know a guy in this unit. I want to get him over there. So it was fun. A lot of work, a lot of pressure, but it was fun.
Well, that's a great award, and then you got the Army's Meritorious Award also at the end of your active duty.
Yeah, it was fun. It just like anything, and Bobby is a good example of it. Once you get involved in something, you either do it right or you don't do it at all. And when I was in DC, what was interesting, I'm in the Army, right? I'm a private in the Army. So I walk in, and when you leave Fort Leonard Wood, if you see a first lieutenant, that's like you've seen God. Well, you go to the Pentagon, and all you see are generals, they're majors and all this kind of stuff. So I go in to have my first meeting at the office where I'm supposed to be. And the guy says, tell you what, from now on, you don't wear your uniform. We're a coat and tie when you come to work. We don't want anybody to know that you're a private or whatever it is, because you're here because of your experience and your background. Works for me. So that's what my 2 years were there. And then I wound up going to, I went to American University is there. So they, since I was unlisted, or I was a private, you could go to school for free. So I got a second master's degree at American University in computer science. So
Well, that's fantastic. And gee whiz, there's so many things. So when you were at St. Louis U also, I see you started hockey there.
Yeah, we really, it was funny because the Blues were just exploding with interest at the time. And college hockey, come across it at a couple of places, and it was really kind of a interesting opportunity. So I got together with the Solomons and said, hey, if I can put together a college hockey program, will you let us use the arena for free? And he said, yeah, we can do that. So that was the start of it. And then I had the good fortune to meet Bill Selman, who was who had just left Minnesota Duluth, which was a really big power, and convinced him that he ought to come to St. Louis U. And it was funny because Selman, if you don't know Bill is a classic guy. And he said, we got to make these people here understand who these hockey guys are. So he had the hockey kids walk around campus carrying their skates so that they would know that there's a hockey program. And we're really proud of the way it all evolved. We wound up, the first year we had all freshmen, but the second year they had some really good kids, Rick Kennedy and the guys like that. But the last game I think it might've been the second year, we played Ohio State and the arena was sold out. We had 18,000 people at the game. It was incredible.
And
that is incredible. Go ahead, Bob.
And I was the original stick boy.
Right.
I was the kid sitting on the bench giving the sticks to the kids as they broke them. And they inaugurated me as the stick boy by putting my head in the toilet and flushing it and calling it a swirly. But they said, Bobby, you're now part of the team.
Well, hey, listen, better than not being part of the team, huh, Bobby?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unbelievable. Well, Earl, there's so many things that Larry's done. I can't even, I don't know, we're going to be here for a full hour and I don't know if we'll have enough time, but what I really am interested in is how you evolved from the Billikens and the Missouri Valley and how you put together that great Metro Conference. That to me was one of the great feats of any administrator in America, how you did that. And you were a young man when you did it.
Yeah, and what was interesting about that, we were a member of the Missouri Valley Conference and had been a long time there, but they were going through a process where they thought football was going to be important for their future. So they started adding all kinds of schools that were geographically disconnected with New Mexico State, but they were adding them on the basis that they had football. And we weren't going to go there. So I convinced Father Marchetti, who was the head of the whole organization at that time. I said, we ought to look into starting our own conference that have comparable interest. Basically, a conference for everything but football. We did baseball, basketball, everything. So we'd create a conference. And since I was on the basketball tournament committee, I knew that there was a rule that if we started a conference next year, how are we going to get everybody to play everybody? Well, there's a rule that's at that time that said, if you have a conference tournament at the end of the season, your winner goes to the NCAA. So I took that background and I started I knew Denny Crum was not happy at what was going on at Louisville, and I knew the people at Cincinnati. So it was hours and hours of telephone calls saying, this is a good idea. We ought to try this. Then you don't have to worry about, you focus on basketball and everything else. Let the football guys do what they want. So we started off with, great schools. We had, from a basketball perspective, St. Louis U, Memphis, Cincinnati, Louisville, Tulane. Georgia Tech was actually in there in the initial group.
Yes.
And Georgia Tech, Doug Weaver was the athletic director at Georgia Tech, and he's an old St. Louis, SIU, Kansas kind of guy. He had the opportunity to take Georgia Tech to the ACC. And what happened is Georgia Tech and Tulane, their football programs were separate. They weren't involved with anything that we did. So that relieved that. Then it started. Having been on the basketball tournament committee, one of the guys who was on the committee was a gentleman named Dave Gavitt. And Dave was the coach of Providence that when they were there. And his son, Dan, now is in charge of the NCAA tournament and all that kind of stuff. But Dave said, how'd you put this thing together? And I told him, he said, well, I want to do the same thing, but I want to do it in the East. And that was the formulation of the Big East. He took the concept of private schools that don't play football, that want to focus on basketball, but fulfill all the other obligations. And he created the Big East. So he and Mike Tranghese came to St. Louis on several different occasions, and we kicked around how we did it, what do you need to do? And we did crazy stuff. I mean, we started our own television network. We started our own radio shows. Bob Costas did our game of the week on radio. I never forget, we had a game. We were doing a radio show. We put together a network to carry the games. We were doing from Memphis, and it's like about 10 minutes to go, and Costas is not there. And he comes roaring in with like 5 minutes to go, sit down, bam, he's going. He's like, it never happened. But it's just, and it changes now. But Costas in his early days never wore a watch. He never knew what time it was. So
that's unbelievable. Well, my goodness, think of those names, Mike Tranghese and the Gavitt family.
Yeah.
You have been you actually are very, very instrumental in the Big East Conference.
Yeah, the Metro
becoming
Conference
and the
spawned-
Metro.
spawned the Big East.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable, Larry. It's just incredible.
And then what happened, the evolution of what happens in sports as it changes over time. What began to happen is the schools that were in the Metro Conference that had football and wanted to be independent were gradually coming up with, like Georgia Tech had a chance to join the ACC, and they would have never had that chance, but they did on the condition they could take their football program there. And so eventually the schools with football were looking for opportunities to expand their football programs. And that eventually led to the mergers of a bunch of different things. And
wow. I mean, it's just, isn't it unbelievable what that man's done?
He's the architect.
I mean, I knew how competent he was and everything else, but are we ready for a break now, Earl? Or
yeah, we'll take a break.
Take a break, and then what I want to talk about, Larry, is the Metro, and then the Great Midwest Conference came into being in the Conference USA, and how all that evolved.
Sure.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
Great.
All right, we'll be back with the easy second hour on the other side. Stay tuned.
You've seen this. It's brand new. Are you online?
Oh, hey. Oh, so you're new here.
All right, let's get cracking.
Okay, then maybe you should check out our website.
You're insane.
Well, you download songs illegally from the internet.
LouInfo.com. LouInfo, the Lou Information Station. 590 AM KLIS, Wood River, St. Louis.
Our origin story began.
Fast Track Auto Transport has been a trusted leader in vehicle shipping for over 25 years, providing reliable, affordable service across the U.S. Fast Track offers fast and safe transportation solutions for individuals, dealerships, fleets, and businesses of all sizes. The Fast Track team prides itself on honest communication, competitive pricing, and real-time tracking, which gives our customers peace of mind from pickup to delivery. Whether you're shipping a single car or managing a large fleet, Fast Track delivers a smooth, hassle-free experience every time. Come see why Fast Track Auto Transport has been St. Louis's go-to company for all your vehicle transport needs for over 25 years. The trusted way, the safe way, the Fast Track way. Visit ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-90. ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004.
St. Louis sports fans, now you can go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie Miklasz, Randy Carricker, Mike Claiborne, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Also, monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and you'll be supporting local sports media at stlsportscentral.com.
This is Mizzou wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr.
And I'm Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter.
When we hit the field, we have each other's back.
And off the field, we got James Carlton, State Farm covering us.
Thanks, fellas. Nothing beats college football season and nothing beats saving money. Just by getting a quote from our office and mentioning Mizzou, we'll make a donation to support Mizzou's will to win push on your behalf. No strings attached.
So you're supporting the team just by checking your rates. Doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so easy. Check them out online at carltoninsurance.net. MIZZOU.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With US Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. US Med. Better service, better care. 800-891-6335. 800-891-6335. 800-891-6335. That's 800-891-6335.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision. It should not be based solely on advertisements.
Not sure how to get a lawyer after an accident? Call Brown and Crouppen. We'll walk you through it. Worried it'll cost too much? Here's a fact. At Brown and Crouppen, you pay nothing up front, and we never get paid unless you do. When you're our client, you'll have all your questions answered, all for free. Hurt? Get the facts and help you need. Call Brown and Crouppen now.
Today's business moves fast. Don't fall behind your competitors. Contact CTS, Commercial Technology Solutions, today for your voice and data needs, including networking, internet, and video conferencing. We offer 24-hour emergency service with competitive rates and an A+ rating from the BBB. At Commercial Technology Solutions, it's all about service, solutions, and stability. Contact them in Missouri at 314-421-3550, in Illinois at 618-452-3550, and online at ctsphone.com.
Welcome back to the EV second hour. It's great history. Some of the great stuff we're enjoying today. We're learning about the roots of it this morning.
Oh, it's been terrific. And before we go back and talk to Larry about the evolution of the Metro Conference, everything, Bob McCauley's in here, and I want to ask Bob a couple things. I want to talk to him a little bit about being the son of a iconic Billiken and what that was like, and all the different Billikens that you might have met in the day. I know that your dad was very close to D.C. Wilcutt, who's a guy that I was fortunate enough to, when I started my officiating career as a high school guy, D.C. Wilcutt treated me very well. Tell me a little bit, Bob, about that.
Dad was an amazing man, and I will tell you honestly, I was out with him all the time and was never embarrassed by him. His public persona was phenomenal, and I can tell you that his private family persona was even better. But I have wonderful memories as a little boy going into the St. Louis Hawks locker room, and I shook hands with none other than Bob Pettit. And that was like shaking hands with a toilet seat. His hand was so huge. My little hand, just disappeared inside of it. But yeah, I was very, very blessed to be the son of Easy Ed. And yeah, I met all the players. He was so involved at St. Louis University, and he helped me obviously get into St. Louis University. That's where I went to school. But one of the great memories I really have is we're in New York in the late 90s, and he's attending a Hall of Fame event in New York. We're in Times Square. We're walking down Broadway, I guess, or something near there. And I'm 20 feet behind Dad. And he's an old man. I mean, in the 90s. And I am walking behind him, and I listen to people after they pass him turn their head and say, "Oh my God, there's Easy Ed McCauley." They remember him from his 1948 NIT championship game. And it just blew me away. I'm like, Dad, how do these people remember you from 50 years ago? And he said, you know, Dad, how funny he was. He was just like, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that NIT championship team, that's an iconic team that people in St. Louis will remember forever, right, Earl?
Absolutely, absolutely. Then he had camps too, right? If I recall, he had basketball camps.
Oh yeah.
But, and see, I'd walk around. They would have
Absolutely.
Ed McCauley camps.
Easy Ed McCauley's camp. for
Everybody
boys.
had that shirt on when I was younger. I'm like, wow.
And he brought all of his professional friends in on those things. And I mean, he was really a leader when it came to camps and basketball camps. And I've had many men come up to me and say, I attended the camps for your dad, and it really helped me. And I love the way that he not only brought, I guess, an athleticism to it, but he brought a moral perspective to it. I mean, he cared genuinely about people doing the right thing. And that was something that always impressed me.
Well, go ahead, Earl.
No, you wanted to mention the 48 team. What was cool about that? And into the 50s and 60s, that St. Louis, it was basically a St. Louis team with your dad, and it was guys from SLU. It could have been guys from Beaumont, Cleveland, Berg, and it was literally St. Louis's team winning championships and just playing great college basketball at that time.
And those men stuck around in St. Louis and became basically a unit. They called it the basketball club. And I grew up with all those kids, the Cordias and the Wilcotts and the Lamans. And we went to picnics, and we went to a river house that we had off on the river. We went to a lake house that we had in Litchfield. And these kids are still very good friends of ours. And my dad and the wives and the fathers all got together, and we had great games of volleyball where they would kick our butts because, you know, they were tall and they let the boys play, but guess what? They came after us. So I just have phenomenal memories of my dad and the wonderful example that he was.
Well, a quick shout out. The best player that I ever played with was Sandy Pomerantz. Okay.
Yeah.
And Pomerantz, to this day, I don't care who he's talking to, he said, I learned how to shoot from Ed McCauley at Ed McCauley's camp. And I'll tell you what, he was a pretty damn good shooter. Pretty good.
Hey, and I have a trivia question for you. Okay. Ben Kerner was the owner of the Hawks at the time, and the Hawks were not doing all that well from an attendance point of view. And he thought that the way to really elevate the Hawks was to figure out a way to get Ed McCauley to play for the Hawks. Who did he what was the trade that brought Ed to the Hawks?
Guy by the name of Bill Russell.
Right.
William Felton Russell.
Yes. Oh,
and
wow.
at that time, I think he traded the draft pick, and the draft pick is what got Russell. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's great talking about your dad, your wonderful father, and he's a St. Louis, not just a Billiken legend, he's a legendary figure in the entire city of St. Louis and throughout the country. Now I want to get into this Metro Conference, and I just think how you started that Metro Conference and the teams that came in, golly, they were all basketball teams, right, Larry?
Yeah.
And they had some storied coaches. Can we talk about a few of those coaches that you had to deal with, the good, the bad, and the ugly?
There's the original group was Denny Crum. It was Wayne Yates at Memphis at that time. Charlie Moyer, I think, was at Virginia Tech. Roy Danforth was at Tulane. Who am I missing? Dwayne Morrison was at Georgia Tech, and Gail Catlett was at Cincinnati. So they were quite a group, I tell you. And then Wayne Yates left, and the lovable Dana Kirk came in as the coach at Memphis.
Sure. Listen, I do want to relive the story. So Memphis, was it a Florida State game that was?
Yeah.
Okay, so Memphis State is playing Florida State, and
at Florida State,
and a guy by the name of Dan Woolridge, he was a referee on that game. He was a lead official. I don't even know who the other two guys were, but anyway, Dana Kirk started acting silly, and he literally says to Woolridge, if you team me again, I'm just going to take my team off the court and we're going to leave. Well, he teed him, and he took his team off the court, and it was kind of like, as I was told later, it was kind of like playing peekaboo, like maybe we're out, maybe we're not going to leave. And he kind of gets by the door. Finally, Woodward's teed him again. The game was over. Forfeit.
Yeah.
Then Larry Albers.
There was not much time left in the game, as I recall.
It was late in the game. Yes.
Yeah.
So then Larry goes, take us from there when you got the phone call.
Yeah. So, in those days, you had to get a phone call. So I'm at home, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever it is, because the game was at Florida State. And I get a call from Billy Murphy. Billy Murphy was the athletic director at Memphis State, or Memphis at that time, or Memphis State, now Memphis. And he says, "What in the world's going on?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "They made us forfeit the game." I said, "I don't know what are you talking about? Give me some time to get back to you." So after a few phone calls, we figured out what happened. I said, the referees did what they had to do. And to his credit, he wound up saying, "Yeah, I guess so."
So what happened, Earl, I had Memphis State's next game in Memphis, and it was with Dave Phillips, and guess who the other official was on the game? Dan Woolridge. So Larry Albers had a should we send these guys back there? Or, because Memphis hated Phillips. They would honk their horns when they heard his name. There was a sign of, we really don't like him. So Larry decided the heck with it. They're assigned the game. So the one thing I remember about that game more than anything, I was a nobody. I was kind of a young official, and Phillips and Woolridge, they were big time guys. So we went down to shake the hands of Roy Danforth, and he was a funny man. And he looks at his watch and he says to Woolridge, "How long will we be here tonight, Dan?" It was fantastic. And it was one of the easiest games I ever had to officiate. I mean, I was just there. And those two guys took care of all the business.
Yeah.
So, those were good old days.
But I guess,
go ahead, Earl.
Football, I guess with football being so big, I guess one of those guys eager to move, because those were national championship, Final Four programs.
Oh, yeah.
That you got to move that easily from their conferences. These weren't just like middle of the road. These teams.
The reason we did was we were talking with the conversations, for the most part, started with the coaches and then worked with the ADs, and said, it's time that you focus on what you're really good at. I mean, at that time, Louisville was not very good at football. They are obviously now, but take your strong programs, let your football program do what they want, but let's really focus on building something around basketball and the rest of your. And Florida State had a terrific baseball program. So, let's build around what you've got and not worry about the other stuff. And that's how it all kind of got started.
So the Metro Conference, it lasted for quite a while. And then what about the merger when the Metro Conference and the Great Midwest Conference, is that correct, became the Conference USA? How did all that evolve?
Yeah, I was actually gone from the conference at that time. I was at the conference from 76 to 82. And then I went to work at AB. And it just began to unravel. I mean, because the concept of the football leaving basketball alone, if you will, began to say, we're going to take our whole program to whatever it was, the ACC or whatever conferences. Florida State left, obviously, but it just became a time when what pulled the pure basketball together from those schools evaporated because of the football. If you look at the Big East, where the Big East strength is right now, they still are primarily basketball. And as long as they don't have the distraction, if you will, of trying to manage a football program, they'll do fine.
I had a situation when Larry was the commissioner of the Metro, and I had a game at Memphis. I don't know if Larry, I think he will remember this once I bring it up, and they were playing Virginia Tech. And I was officiating with a fellow by the name of Dale Ford. Phillips had hired him because he was a friend of Phillips. He was a major league umpire. He was not a very good basketball official, but that's irrelevant. That has nothing to do with this incident. So before the game, I had been to Memphis State many times, and I knew Virginia Tech and blah, blah. So this Dale Ford says to me, he says, "Who's the head coach down there of Memphis State?" So there's about 7 guys down there in these purple. I said, well, very foolish of me. I said, he's a guy. He looks like a pumpkin head. So Dale Ford said, oh, yeah, that. And he pointed right at Charlie Moyer. So as the game was progressing, all of a sudden these Memphis State coaches were not being very respectful towards me, to say the least. So what had happened is a radio announcer had heard what I said and had passed it on down to the Virginia Tech people. So I had a good game. I thought I refereed really well. I was really full of myself after the game, and I get home, and the office was in Clayton. So on Monday at school, I get a phone call from Dave Phillips. He says, hey, can you come out to the office after school? We really want to talk to you. And I said, sure, I'll be glad to come out. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I had a good game. I'm going to get some more games, So I drive out to after I go in the office. What was the name of the secretary? Was it Helen? No. The secretary, whoever she was.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
She says, Mr. Albus and Mr. Phillips are in the back room. They're waiting for you. So I walk in there, and Phillips was always a wise guy. He says, I want to tell you that we're going to have a little conversation about your game. And Mr. Albus is betting on you. I'm betting against you. Because he said, I know you a little better than him. I said, what? He said, did you by any chance refer to Coach Moyer as a pumpkin head? And I go, oh my, yeah. So it's interesting. I didn't work for Charlie Moyer for at least 2 or 3 years. Dave never sent me there. So I got an NCAA assignment, and by golly, it was Virginia Tech about 3 years later. And I was embarrassed about what had happened. And I walked down, and I'll tell you what, Charlie Moyer might have been the best guy you could work for in that whole conference. He never bothered. He was a wonderful man. He never bothered referees. It was being a wise guy. And I went down and I said, Mr. Moyer, I have to, he said, forget it, Ron. It's all over. And we had a good game, and that's how it ended. But that's when you better be careful what you say and what comes out of your mouth. I'm saying that to all young referees, if you hear me. Be careful. Well, that was a good time, though.
Oh, yeah.
And Phillips knew me. What about Dave Phillips? Let's talk a little bit about him when you hired him, Larry. You hired him as your supervisor after Joe Shosid.
Yeah, and I knew Dave because from the basketball officiating side of things, because he was an official outside of the baseball season, and he worked a couple of the NCAA games that I had and some things like that. But I also became friends with him on the baseball side of it as well. And then when the opportunity came about for us to look for a new director of officials, he just came to mind. As I thought he was a quality guy, knows his stuff, has a professional officiating background. If you can handle baseball and everything else, so I thought he'd be a good guy, and he was.
And at the time, you might know this or you might not, but every year that the baseball tournament was played, they would bring an umpire from every city to wherever the tournament was. So St. Louis would send one guy down there and this and that. And it wasn't working out really well. And Phillips called me and he said, hey, could you get 6 guys, St. Louis guys, to go umpire the Metro tournament? And I said, my God, I said, I could get 100. They'd love to go to war. So we went down there and we umpired that tournament for 4 or 5 different years, and it was a great experience. And the reason for it was they wanted the same guys there working the entire tournament, not, a different plate umpire, guys that kind of had the same philosophy. And at the time, St. Louis U wasn't really good in baseball. So they figured we don't have to worry about this crew umpiring the championship game or this, that, and whatever. So Phillips did that for us. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Earl?
I want to know more about like I said, the Metro. I kind of, like I said, being a Louisville fan. Do you remember just some of the great games, the rivalries? I remember, I guess Louisville Memphis was such a great rivalry because Dana was on Denny's staff at Louisville. I just remember those were great games. Virginia Tech Florida State came in. Just the rivalries in that developed in that.
Yeah, there were some major rivalries, and one of the interesting things is I forget what year it was. It might have been 77, 78, where the winner of the conference gets the automatic bid to the NCAA. Well, this particular year, whichever year it was, Memphis was really the strong program, and Louisville beat them in the tournament and got the automatic bid. And of course, I was there for the game. At that time, the way the tournament committee ran, we had meetings on Friday and Sunday. So I flew from Kansas down to the game on Saturday and then back for the tournament committee meeting on Sunday. So by that time, the Memphis had lost. So I'm surrounded by Memphis people saying, how are you going to keep them out of the tournament? How are you going to keep them out? I said, they're not out of the tournament. They've got the opportunity once the selection process goes through, if they'll get in. And I said, they've got a pretty good chance. And fortunately, they did get a bid to get in, and nothing ever came of it. But yeah, that was a challenge. But man, there were serious competitions going on.
Larry, can I ask you a question? When you were on the committee, I know when I went to my first NCAA tournament, I got a thing from the FedEx on a Monday morning, and it says well, but did you guys have much to do with the selection? Was Hank Nichols, was he involved yet as a director? Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We weren't involved in the officiating assignment at all. That was all done by them. The interesting thing, you talk about change. The first year I got voted on to the tournament committee. That meeting would be in March of 76. I got voted on in 75. So you typically go to the last meeting with the other committee just to kind of not vote on anything, but to hear what's going on. And that was the year that the tournament committee decided that you could take the second place team from a conference. It used to be if you won your conference, you were automatically in. And at that time, UCLA was always winning the Pac-10 at that time. But USC was really, really good. And they never got in because they were always second to UCLA. So we're having this committee meeting, and they vote to allow, as an at-large, the second place team from another conference. And JD was in. I'm sitting next to JD, and he says, "Well, you just destroyed the conference, the tournament, by accepting second place teams." I said, "You just want to control the whole thing," but so when I started on the committee, sitting in the first year, there was 24. When I left the committee in 82, they were at 60 something teams. The expansion was dramatic over that time period. And it was driven a lot by what else? Television. I was part of the NCAA. The tournament committee has a subcommittee to vote on, to meet and negotiate the TV contracts. So I was involved in negotiating with NBC at that time.
Was there an L&K communications company at one time?
Yeah. That was when we were doing all the conference stuff, and we created all these television productions and radio productions. We couldn't do that through the conference. We had it set. So I set up a separate company called LK Communications. And so we had different people work for them, but we ran all the production, promotional stuff through that company so that the conference wasn't liable for any of it.
Okay, and we're almost at the end, Earl, but tell me a little bit AB marketing, a job that you had. It's a big job.
Yeah, it was fun in that I was the athletic director I was the conference commissioner, and we were doing all these crazy things and always focused on doing stuff for soccer. And Denny Long was the president of Anheuser-Busch, and he kind of followed what we were doing. And I get a call one day from Mike Rorty, who was the senior marketing guy and a legend. If you've not met him, he is an absolute legend. I get a call from him and saying, can you come down to the brewery? We'd like to offer you a job. I said, oh, okay. So I go down there, and they said, yeah, we want to create the concept that Denny wanted to do is at that time there were probably 12 or 14 different brands, Bud Light, Michelob, and each one of the brands negotiated their own deals with sponsorship. And Denny said, that's not the efficient way of doing it. It should all be negotiated by one group. And then you assign the rights to whichever brand it fits their brand, the image and all that kind of stuff. So I said, yeah, okay. So we hired something like 25 people in 2 weeks to create the sports marketing department, which they'd never had before. So the purpose of the sports marketing was to negotiate all of their sports sponsorships, everything that they did. I was fortunate enough to put together the first World Cup sponsorship, and was involved in the first Olympic sponsorship. So those are really big deals, and everything from Mario Andretti driving the Indy car to the World Cup, we did it all.
Well, it's been a tremendous hour. We really appreciate Larry and Bob joining us. Just learned so much of sports history, and Ron, you always bring in the best as well. So I really appreciate everything, knowledge you've put out there today for us today.
Well, these two are two of the best that I've brought in, and I'm honored to be in the same room with them. And Larry, thank you for at least defending me, even though I was guilty. At Phillips, I knew he never would. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Stay tuned for Wrestling on the Spectrum on the other side. See you next week.
Hot Shots.